the corner there.
Okay. Can you circle or put X in the area that you and your 3 kids are at, approximately?
Sure.
It's a
Touchscreen, okay.
Yes.
So I would have been a little bit further back from my kids, maybe like over here, and my 2 older kids would have, they were in the street right about there.
Okay. And at some point, were you standing, I'm sorry?
I was standing and my youngest was in a stroller with me.
Okay. And the other 2 kids, were they in the street?
Yep, they were with the other kids that were just waiting for candy from the floats.
Were their kids on like your right side as you were watching the parade?
They were kind of just in front of me, a little to the side though, yeah.
Okay, thank you. What, was that the approximate area that your kids were standing?
Even out probably a little bit further than where I circled.
Did anyone raise a concern about where they were standing at some point during the parade?
There was concern about it. A police officer had come by and actually moved all the kids back a little bit. And there was another mom there, and her daughter was near my kids. And she had actually said to me, gosh, they're out a little bit far. And I said, everything's going so slow, they're not going to get hit. They'll be fine.
So at some point during the parade, was your attention diverted from what was the floats and the participants and the spectators to something else? Was your attention drawn away?
Yeah, there was one point when there was a break in the actual parade, and an SUV came down the road, and it was coming faster than any parade float should have been coming, so it was confusing, and I didn't know what was happening at the time, but it did veer into the crowd just right in front of me where my son got hit.
Okay. So first of all, can you draw an arrow on the direction that the vehicle was going?
Sure. It was coming from this way.
Okay. And what direction, if you can kind of follow that line, what direction was it going as you said it veered towards you?
It wasn't going straight. It was just kind of like, and then it just kind of went in this way and ended up right about there.
Okay. Were any of your kids, one was in a stroller that was by you, up on the ledge, I think, or the...
Yeah, further back.
Were either of your other 2 kids struck by the SUV?
My middle son, Owen, was struck by the SUV when it came through.
And Owen is 7?
He was 5 at the time. He's 6 now.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's exactly
He's
what
the
I
middle
wrote down.
one.
I was just testing you to make sure that you knew the ages.
It's hard to keep them straight, but I sometimes do.
Thank you. Did you see the path of travel after the SUV came towards you and hit Owen?
I didn't, because I gathered up my kids as fast as I could, and we had parked in the public lot down here, and so I just gathered them up as fast as I could, and we just ran to the car and to get out of there. There was a lot of chaos and screaming and crying. And
did you? What injuries did Owen receive?
He ended up needing 6 stitches. He had a gash on his eye, above his eye, like in his eyebrow. So we needed 6 stitches because it was pretty deep. They couldn't just glue it or anything like that.
Now, you put your hand above your right eyebrow. Was it above his right eyebrow?
Yeah.
Okay. And where were the kids facing, if you recall, right before the SUV came and struck Owen?
They were waiting for the next float, so he was turned facing the way the floats were coming, because there wasn't anything going on at the time. They were just waiting for the next thing, so they were just watching for the next float to come by.
Okay. So I'm assuming his body...
Yeah, he was turned.
Okay, thank you. Did you get medical attention right away?
I dropped my youngest and my oldest off at home, and then I quickly took Owen to Waukesha Memorial.
And that's where he was treated?
That's where he was treated.
Did you see, first of all, what color was the SUV?
It was a maroonish red.
Okay. Did you notice anything distinctive about it other than it was a maroonish red SUV?
No,
Did you see the vehicle prior to it striking Owen strike anyone?
I didn't.
Did you see the vehicle strike anyone after it struck Owen?
I didn't.
Nothing further.
Oh, sorry. Nope. We'd ask that a screenshot be taken of State's Exhibit 51. I believe that would be 51A.
Objection.
And we'd ask that it be admitted into evidence.
Objection.
Overruled.
My objection was to clarification on whether she was done or not.
I believe it is 51A. It is also captured, and did you move that one, Ed, to evidence?
Thank you.
So did you move 51A?
I did.
All right, and 51A is also received.
And the state would have no other questions for this witness. Thank you.
All right, any questions, sir?
Yes. You stated a few minutes ago that at one point before the vehicle came through that you were having a conversation to the effect of things were going slow, they're not going to get hit.
I never said I was having a conversation.
Well, let me back up. Who were you talking to when you said everything's going slow, pretty slow, they're not going to get hit?
Another mom.
So would it be fair to say that's a conversation?
Yes.
And why did you make reference to getting hit at that point?
Because I didn't expect my kid to get hit at a parade.
So you had already made the determination that they were going to get hit at a parade at that point?
Objection.
Grounds.
Argumentative, sustained. You do not have to answer that question.
Why would getting hit be in your head at that point?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Grounds.
Overruled. She may answer the question.
I wasn't concerned about my children being hit at a parade because typically at a parade floats are going very slow.
That still doesn't quite answer the question because the statement was things are going pretty slow, they won't get hit. What prompted the statement they won't get hit at that point?
Another mom was concerned about how much into the street the kids were waiting for candy.
So it'd be fair to say that the initial concern was from another parent
Correct.
and not yourself.
I wasn't worried about my kids getting hit at a parade as I shouldn't have been.
You stated also that you dropped your other kids off before seeking medical attention. Would that be fair to say?
I said that.
Any reason why you didn't seek medical attention immediately?
I did seek medical attention immediately.
You also just stated that you dropped your other kids off and
My house is on the way to the hospital, so I dropped 2 of my children off so they wouldn't have to sit at the hospital.
So your intention at that point was to seek medical attention?
I sought medical attention.
Was
Yes.
that your intent?
That's what I did.
Was it your intent?
Objection. Argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained. Asked and answered.
Do you recall about what time you arrived at the parade?
No,
You recall what time you left the parade?
no.
Were you at the parade with anyone other than your children at that time?
No.
Before you were able to see the vehicle that struck your son, or was it your son?
Yes.
Before you saw the vehicle, did you observe anyone else struck before that moment?
No.
After that moment?
No.
About how long did it take you to gather your children up before?
Not very long.
Do you recall how long you were treated at the hospital?
I don't know. We were there for a while waiting. The waiting room was full of people that were hurt.
Were you ever told at any point during your waiting process that you probably could have went to another medical facility?
Objection?
Grounds.
Sustained.
You recall giving a statement to law enforcement?
Yes.
Do you recall if it was the same night of the incident?
I gave a report the night of the incident at the hospital.
And did you follow up on that report at any time?
No, I didn't.
Any reason why?
Why would I follow up?
Well, it would be fair to say, would it not, that after making a report to law enforcement, you would want to follow up maybe to see what's going to be done about the report. Would that be fair to say?
I knew that the police were going to do their jobs, so I didn't have a reason to follow up. They contacted me when they needed to contact me.
So it would be fair to say you just gave the report and then just left the rest up to law enforcement?
Sure.
And I'm assuming that law enforcement at some point got back in touch with you. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
Do you recall about when that was?
Either the next day or the day after.
Do you recall if it was a detective or a regular officer?
I believe it was a detective.
Do you recall the name of the detective?
No.
Were you at any time given a card by the detective to be able to keep in contact?
I don't recall.
Do you recall if your interview was written down as a summary or if it was recorded?
I think he did both.
Did you file any claims related to this matter?
No.
Ever read or saw a complaint in this matter?
No.
Grounds.
Sustained. You may rephrase if you want. But it's sustained as to the form of the question.
Whom were you contacted by in regards to possibly testifying in this matter?
I don't know, probably the DA's office, I don't know.
Were you subpoenaed?
I was subpoenaed to be here.
Do you recall who that subpoena was from?
I don't know.
So it would be fair to say that you received a subpoena and never read who it was from. Would that be fair to say?
From the state of Wisconsin.
When you say the state of Wisconsin, who are you referring to?
Objection of relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
It's not relevant.
Will you consider yourself an injured party in this matter?
I was not physically injured myself.
Have you filed a claim in this matter in any way?
Yes, answered.
Sustained.
Would you consider yourself to be the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection of relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
It's not relevant. Also under 90611.
Are you aware of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained on relevance grounds.
Ever had a conversation with the plaintiff at any time in this matter?
Objection of relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question. You may rephrase it if you would like. Some more specificity.
Have you ever had any phone conversations or personal interactions with the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection vague.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question. You may rephrase it if you so choose with more specificity so that it's not
Yes.
vague.
Are you aware of the identity of the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Not relevant.
Grounds.
It's not relevant. Sustained.
Are you aware if there is a plaintiff in this matter?
Objection of relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained
Grounds for the sustain.
on relevance grounds. Also under 90611.
With all respect, Your Honor, the jury deserves to know this information. We're withholding important information from the jury. They deserve to know this.
The jury will disregard the statement made by Mr. Brooks as not being an accurate statement of the law. Next question.
So to the best of your knowledge, you're not aware of any plaintiff in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Sustained. Mr. Brooks, please move on to another topic under 90611. You are hereby advised that if you do not move on to a new topic, I will close the cross-examination.
With all due respect, Your Honor, this is important information the jury deserves to know.
Mr. Brooks, ask a relevant question, please.
That holds a lot of relevance, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, one last opportunity to ask a question. Otherwise, the court will declare the cross-examination closed under 90611.
No further questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Statement called. Next witness.
Daniel Knapp.
All right, Mr. Knapp, if you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is to my right, up one riser. When you get there, please remain standing, raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, who's to my left, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. First thing I will ask that you do is to state your first and last names for the record, and then spell each.
Daniel Knapp, D-A-N-I-E-L, Knapp, K-N-A-P-P.
Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Morning, sir.
Morning.
I'm going to direct your attention to November 21st of 2021. Were you at the Waukesha Christmas parade on that date?
I was.
Who were you with?
I was with my family, my wife, and 3 children, as well as 3 other families. There was a group of 19 of us.
And by chance, were you with, I'm sorry, Donna. Yes, thank you. Ed Harris?
Yes.
And did Matt have his...
Hold on, overruled,
Sorry.
the question and answer will stand.
Sir, how old are you kids?
My kids at the time of the parade were 11, 7, and 3.
Where were you seated for the parade?
My family was in front of the Steaming Cup, so that would be on the northeast corner of Main and Clinton Street.
And I said seated, but I guess were you standing, or where were you on that corner?
Yeah, so I was behind the group of, we had 12 children that were lined up across the street, or on the side of the street, waiting to receive candy. I was behind the children, so closer to the Steaming Cup.
Was that the same general location as the other parents?
That is correct, yes. My wife, Stephanie, was with my daughter, Kelsey, going in and out of the Steaming Cup, given it was a little chilly that day, and my daughter was a little cold, so she would go in and out of the Steaming Cup, so she was a little further to the west than I was, but we were all in the general direction.
Okay. And how old is Kelsey?
Kelsey, at the time of the incident, was 3. Today, she's 4.
Okay. Now, at some point, did you hear anything unusual during the parade?
Yeah, so in watching the parade, with a lot of circumstance pomp, bands and noises, but then all of a sudden the noises changed to what I would describe as sounds of screaming, and at the time when that occurred, the direction kind of turned from facing the parade down to the east, looking down Main Street.
So as you're facing the parade, would east be to your left?
That is correct, to my left.
To your left. And when you said screaming, you said this is a parade. I'm assuming that there are kids and adults screaming and yelling. What was different about the screaming that you heard?
In my recollection, there was a difference between laughing and having a joyful time, as compared to screaming out of fear, terror. It was just a noticeable difference.
And the screaming that you heard out of fear or terror, that was the screaming that you heard when you looked left?
That is correct.
What did you see?
So what I saw when I looked left was there was a SUV pulling a float that was down to our left side that had not got to the position that we were at, and all of a sudden a car, red SUV, pulled around that float and headed directly in our direction. You said a red SUV. Did you notice anything unusual about it as the car came at you? Other than obviously a car coming at us during a parade was something that was very unexpected. And as it got closer, as I mentioned, it was coming at maybe a northwest direction as it past the SUV, coming directly at our location. And in terms of anything else, at that point, no.
I'm going to show and ask the court to publish Exhibit 51. It will show up in front of your screen.
Go ahead.
First of all, sir, is this, does this area look familiar to you?
It does.
And where's the steaming cup?
The steaming cup would be the building I'm circling right now.
Yep. Okay. And where were you seated or standing approximately?
Yeah, so I was standing somewhere right about here.
Okay. And where were your kids?
So we had, like I mentioned before, a group of 12 that were lined up. Kelsey would have been the furthest to the west, and I would approximate that the 12th child furthest to the east would have been somewhere in this direction, or location, excuse me.
And do you know approximately that would have been the location she would have been on the curb, meaning Kelsey, or would she have been off the curb, if you recall?
It's my recollection that she would have been off the curb. There was a lot of excitement with the children, and there was a police officer that would often push the children back to ensure that they were staying out of the direction of the parade, and so it's my recollection that they would have been on the street at that time.
Okay. And still using Exhibit 51, when you state that this red SUV was coming at your group, can you, and I don't know if you can you show the direction of travel using this exhibit?
Objection, leave the witness.
Overruled. You may answer.
Thank you. I would, the direction I would have, based on my recollection, was coming here, and again, right at our location, so coming here and then would have come back this direction into the middle of the street.
Okay. So let's kind of go through that. When you first saw the car, was it on, can you show by an arrow using Exhibit 51, can you show by arrow the, and I think you actually have, the direction that the parade was going? You did with the arrow that you previously pointed, is that?
Yeah, the direction of the parade was coming in this direction here.
And where specifically was the car coming from? Was it coming from, as you're looking at the car, was it coming from the left side of the road or the right side of the road?
Objection, leave the witness.
Overruled.
The car was coming from the south side of Main Street.
Which is,
it had,
you're on the north side?
I'm on the north side
Okay.
by Steaming Cup, so it had passed the SUV on the south side and then came into our purview at that point, coming on a northwest direction towards us.
So the red SUV passed another SUV?
That's correct. It had passed an SUV that had yet to come to our location. So I'm not exactly sure what unit that was in the parade. But as it passed that SUV, it came into my purview, and that's when I got sight of the vehicle.
So the SUV that the red SUV passed, it would have passed, the red SUV would have passed the other SUV on the driver's side?
That is correct.
Okay. If I could have a screen capture of this, I believe it would be 51B. And then,
It is captured, and we'll save it as 51B.
I'd also ask,
Hold on. I'm sorry, was there an objection?
Yes.
The basis for the objection?
Relevancy.
It is relevant. 51B has been captured, and I believe you had a statement about it.
yes, I'd ask that be moved into evidence.
It is received, 51B.
The objection be noted for the record, Your Honor.
It already has been. Yes, it will be noted.
Sir, continuing to look at 51, you had stated that the direction of travel then was towards the middle of Main Street, is that correct?
That is correct.
Could you see what it was going towards?
So at the time of when that vehicle was coming towards our group, myself in particular, I saw the driver of that SUV coming right towards me, and then start making a little bit of that, I guess turning up, instead of the northwest direction, turning more to the west. And at that time, my concern after looking at this vehicle was realizing that he was heading directly for our children. As the vehicle passed myself and getting to the end of our group, which again, Kelsey was furthest on the west. And right next to Kelsey would have been a family friend, Brinley Harris. And I saw the vehicle strike my daughter. My daughter flew approximately 15 feet towards the middle of the intersection of Clinton and Main. So at that point, a fatherly instinct kicked in, and my sole focus was at my daughter at that point. So I did not have any contact, visual contact with the vehicle after that point.
So you said Kelsey flew approximately 15 feet into Clinton Street?
In estimation,
Your objection is noted.
Already answered.
What was the objection?
That was already answered.
That's not my recollection, so it's overruled. I believe she was seeking clarification or additional details.
Can that be clarified? I'm gonna the question.
No, go ahead and ask your question, Attorney Basie. Your objection's noted, it's overruled.
Is that a judicial determination, Your Honor?
Go ahead, Attorney Basie.
So what did you do upon seeing that?
so after seeing my daughter get hit as the vehicle was turning again into the parade route, noticing my daughter was hit by the front right side of the vehicle, and watching my daughter and where she ended up was my sole focus. I ran over to her to check on the condition she was in.
So you actually saw the red SUV's front right bumper strike your daughter?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's what caused her to be propelled into approximately 15 feet away?
That's correct.
What did you notice once you got to your daughter?
I noticed my daughter had a significant amount of blood on her face. She was conscious, but I would consider a look of, now mind you, she's 3 years old, a look of just complete fear and misunderstanding, just not understanding what just occurred.
What did you do?
So I picked up my daughter, and not knowing exactly the situation that we were currently involved in, not knowing if there was another vehicle, just not really understanding the situation, I picked her up and I ran north on Clinton Street for about 10 yards. I stopped at that moment. I turned back towards Main Street to make eye contact with my wife and the rest of the group to ensure that the rest of the group was safe, and just to get a bearing of where we were after making eye contact with my wife and asking the question, is everyone else safe? I proceeded to run with Kelsey in my arms. We were parked at Waukesha State Bank, which I grew up in Waukesha, so thankfully I'm very familiar with the surroundings in this general area, and I knew how close I was to the hospital. I ran with Kelsey. My brother-in-law caught up with me and came with me as we drove up to Waukesha Memorial Hospital and brought Kelsey into the hospital.
What injuries did Kelsey receive as a result of being struck by the red SUV?
So Kelsey received a tear in her spleen in this location.
And for the record, I just want to show that you pointed to the left side
Correct.
of...
Back left side of Kelsey.
Okay.
She received a broken nose, significant road rash and cuts to her facial area, which one of them required some facial surgery.
Prior to the vehicle striking Kelsey, when you first saw the vehicle, did you hear it honking its horn?
I did not.
You stated that the vehicle was coming right at you. Were you able to see inside the vehicle?
I was.
How many people were inside that vehicle?
I could only see one person in the vehicle.
Presumably the driver?
Yes, it was on the driver's side, front driver's side.
Could you tell male or female?
Yes, it was a black male, and at the time, the eyes is what drew me in. Were completely wide open, and made eye contact with the individual driving the vehicle.
So you looked eye to eye with the person who hit your daughter.
I did.
Did you see him in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you point him out by where he's seated and what he's wearing?
He's
And
seated
I ask
in.
that Mr. Brooks take off his face mask.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
He is seated at the table, located over here. He's got a gray suit on, a blue shirt, and a tie.
Let the record reflect that witness has identified the defendant, Darrell Brooks.
Objection, I do not consent to being called that name, nor do I know any individual by that name, Your Honor.
The record will reflect that the witness has identified the defendant as the driver of the SUV that struck his daughter.
May my objection be noted for the record as well, Your Honor.
It's noted.
From your observations, you didn't see anyone else in the car, correct?
I did not.
Did the defendant, was he flailing his arms? Do you recall where his hands were?
I do not recall any hand movement. My main recollection is the face, specifically the eyes.
Did he appear to be in control of the car?
Yes.
Did the vehicle stop after hitting your daughter?
The vehicle did not stop after hitting my daughter, although, as I stated before, I do not have recollection of exactly where the vehicle went, other than getting back towards the center of Main Street.
As the car was coming towards your location, could you estimate the speed?
I have no way of estimating the exact speed, but I would say way too fast for the situation.
So you indicate that you were friends with Matt Harris and his family?
Objection. Relevancy
Overruled.
to this particular witness.
Overruled. It goes to context and
Grounds.
background.
Grounds for that.
Context and background. It's also relevant. Go ahead, you may answer.
That's correct. We are.
And you say that Brindley was standing near Kelsey when Kelsey got hit?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled.
Brindley was standing directly to Kelsey's left, to her east.
And did you see Brindley after November 21st?
Yes, I've seen Brindley after November 21st.
Shortly after November 21st of last year?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled.
Yes.
Did she have any type of medical dressing on her at that time?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled.
Grounds for that.
It's
Overruled.
relevant.
Yes, she had a full cast on.
Her leg?
Yes,
Or-
her leg.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Any cross, Mr. Brooks?
Yes. You may claim that you locked eyes with the driver of the vehicle. Would that be fair to say?
That is correct.
And approximately how far was the vehicle from you when you supposedly locked eyes?
I would estimate it 20 feet.
Would it be fair to say that that's about as far as I am from you now? Or was the vehicle further than where I am now from you?
I would state that it was probably a little bit closer.
And what do you mean by a little bit closer?
I would say perhaps halfway, maybe three-quarters of the way between where you're seated right now and where I'm seated right now.
What would be 3/4 of the way? Can you like point about where?
Again, I estimated it about 20 feet, so
Would it be fair to say that halfway between you and I would not be an accurate statement of 20 feet?
Objection or
Grounds.
negative?
Overruled, he may answer the question.
that's why I said it was about 3/4 of the way.
So about what spot would it be? By this black, I guess, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a door or,
Electrical box.
excuse me, what is that?
It's an electrical box?
Would it be by this electrical box? Would it be this square directly next to the electrical box? I mean, specifically, what would you say would be 3/4 of the way?
So electrical box would be a good estimation of the distance. However, it was a little further to my left than where the electrical box was because it was coming at us at more
So
road.
it would be a little further this way, coming back towards the table here.
Your Honor, I just ask that the defendant allow the witness to answer the question before he asks the next question.
And I agree. The record should also reflect that as the witness was answering the question, he was motioning with his left arm in a direction outstretched kind of from front of his body to the left of his body. He probably had a 45-degree angle to demonstrate that his observation of the vehicle was in that direction. You may ask the question again then so the witness can answer from there.
So you would estimate that it was in relation to where the electrical box is, probably approximately around like this general area right here?
To my direction, probably a little bit to the left of there.
Just so the record is clear, Mr. Brooks is standing up at his table. He's pointing what would be pretty much directly in front of him, but to my left of the electrical box. We have large squares of carpet and would be a square and a half to the left, my left, Mr. Brooks' right.
For the record, I'm a third party, Your Honor. I don't like that stated for the record. I don't identify by that name or consent to being called that name, Your Honor.
Your lack of consent is noted. Next question, please.
Your Honor, just for the record, I don't think some of the jurors in the back can see the black electrical box. So
Why don't we have our
just
jurors stand for a moment? So that we can be clear that they're seeing that. Thank you. All right. So the record should reflect that the jurors are all standing to take a look at where the electrical box is and, of course, the squares of carpet next to that. All right, thank you. You may be seated. Next question, sir.
And you would say from that general distance, you were able to clearly lock eyes with a vehicle that was passing you at a speed that you say was too fast?
As I stated before, the vehicle was not necessarily passing me, it was coming straight at me. And yes, I was able to lock eyes.
And do you recall if the vehicle had any tint?
I do not recall if the vehicle had any tinted windows. I assume, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, tint, yes.
I do not recall if the vehicle had any tinted windows.
Were you able to, you clearly were able to make the color of the vehicle, would that be fair to say?
That is correct.
And were you able to make out the make and model of the vehicle?
I was not.
And were you able to see if there were any occupants in the vehicle other than the driver?
I only saw one occupant in the vehicle.
Did you get a license plates of the vehicle?
I did not get a license plate for the vehicle.
Do you recall what the driver was wearing?
I do not recall what the driver was wearing.
So it would be fair to say that all you looked at was the eyes then, and not the entire face.
I saw the face, of the occupant, the driver of the vehicle. I did not see pants or make out any shirt or jacket or any other markings.
I didn't ask about pants, but
The witness answered your question. Next question, sir.
I would like to get to it, Your Honor. Did you observe the vehicle strike anyone while it was coming towards you?
I did not.
After it had passed you?
Yes, I observed the vehicle striking my 3-year-old daughter, Kelsey.
After that point?
I did not.
You stated that when the vehicle was coming towards you, it turned away. It was turning away.
Yes, as the vehicle was coming directly towards our group, it did make a turn from a northwest direction to a westerly direction down Main Street.
Would it be fair to say that that direction that it turned was turning away from you?
Correct, it was turning towards the middle of the street.
But generally turning away from the area that you and your children were standing at that point in time?
Correct.
From your observation, why do you think the vehicle would have been turning away from you?
Objection.
Grounds.
Calls for speculation.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor.
Calls for speculation.
Were you injured in any way?
I was not physically injured.
And would it be fair to say that you would describe the scene as pretty chaotic at that point?
Absolutely.
And
Mr. Brooks, sorry to interrupt. How much longer do you have? The
I-
only reason I ask is there's some weather coming in and I've had some alerts and I want to make sure everyone gets to a safe location. There's a tornado warning, not for us just yet, but so I'll let you finish, but I may be interrupting if another alert comes in. Are they going on? All right, we're gonna take our lunch early then, and all rise for the jury. Sorry for the interruption, Mr. Brooks.
Well, finish my question.
You will.